Hello, welcome to my studio. It's so good to have you. So today I thought we would work on making some more collage sheet ephemera. So I'm going to be using some papers that I'll explain. I've got my brushes, I've got some water. I have a collection of different I have different brands, different kinds of acrylic paints, and the selection that I did was not only color, but these are paints, the Jane Davenport particularly, that I know will dry matte, and that's going to be helpful. But honestly, any acrylics that you have will be fine. If you happen to know that they're matte finished, that's going to help you more. So I also got, these are Soho acrylics that came as a free gift in a package of art supplies I got from Blick. And so I thought, well, this is a good application to try something new. So we're going to give those a try today. And I don't know if they dry matte or not. Over here, I have a selection of Posca markers, different colors. I normally store these flat, but I just brought them out here like this for today. A couple of paper towels. I think we're ready to go. So the way that I selected these papers was that they too have a matte finish. And these are just after I was done harvesting some magazines, books. These large sheets are from a, what would you call it, like a newsletter, but they're all matte. So I'm setting some aside. Oh, something else I have that we're going to use, hopefully, if we get done, is we're going to be using some punches. So I'll show you those when we get to them. So these are papers that I really can't find a specific purpose when it comes to collage. Yes, I could use text, but it's not a particular font that surprises me, and the pictures aren't particularly lending themselves to the type of collage work I do. So I'm going to be using these. Always check the back, make sure there's not something that you're giving up, but I've already done that. So I have a piece of wax paper here so that I'm protecting my work surface, and then I take these when I'm done and I tear them up and use them in collage. So I try to, repurpose and reuse. Let's get some paint going. And what we're going to do is turn this into collage paper. So I'm just going to start, and I'm just grabbing a color. This is kind of a violet color. And I'm going to put it right on the page. It is probably a little bit sheer, and that's okay. I am going to wet my brush and dab it on the paper towel. That way my brush isn't absorbing the paint and not getting the paint on the paper, but I'm not trying to thin down the paint. I'm heading right to the edges, and we'll just take this as far as it'll go. If some of the text is showing through, that's fine. Totally fine. And I'm going to put a little bit more of this violet, and I'm just having the goal of covering this paper. I don't even care if the different colors I use complement or coordinate with the other paints on the same paper, because I'm going to be tearing them up. And sometimes a little contrast in your collage can be interesting. So don't be afraid to use some of that. This paint is drying fast, which is a good thing. So I'm going to just finish up this stripe of purple right here, or I guess it's kind of a violet color. So I hope you're crafting along, and if you are, please put it in the comments and let me know what it is that you're doing. Just getting the bottom here. Let me know what you're doing. Now I do have two water sources. One, I get the bulk of the acrylic off. Try to. And then I head into the second one. And the second one I also use for wetting my brush. Give it a little tap. Okay, another color. I'm just grabbing another one that's next door. And I'm gonna give it a squeeze. Now I don't think Jane Davenport makes these acrylic paints in this tube anymore, but she does have on her website her acrylic paints. And I do like them because, again, you get a true matte finish. And when you're trying to do other mediums on top of mediums, a matte finish is more likely to be successful than a glossy finish. The other thing about a matte finish is that when you're working in an art journal or even making things like greeting cards, whatever, once it's dry, it tends to be completely dry, and it doesn't leave a stickiness, which some acrylic paints are forever sticky. Now, there's ways to get around that, and as we move through art journaling, we will go ahead and I'll explain those things to you. But again, whatever you're using, if it ends up being shiny, if it ends up being sticky, there's ways around it. There's always ways around it. Okay, I'm grabbing another color, and I'm going to put this on. Kind of a coral color. I think it's pretty. And I may reuse some of these colors on different sheets, and that's fine, because what's under the sheet also dictates, or what's under the paint also dictates the end product. So just because I use the same color on two different sheets, you can still end up with a different effect. I am trying to cover all the paper, but if I miss a spot here and there, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. It's totally fine. Always remember, with art journaling and with mixed media, there are no rules. There are no expectations. We're just using and reusing things. Yeah, I'm using the paint, but these magazine, someone already read it, and then someone already harvested, me. I'm going to grab, I'm changing in mid-sentence, but this is that paint that I've never used before, and I'm just going to see what it does. Oh, it's even got a cover. So someone already utilized the magazine. I already utilized the magazine, and now I'm utilizing it again. So I kept it out of the landfill, and I'm not wasting it. I am repurposing it. So we'll see what this paint does, because I honestly have no idea. But this Soho, I don't even know if they still make it, but I think they do. It is Blick's like house brand, sort of like Reflections, and that's one of Michael's brands. I'm trying to think of some of the others, like Master's Touch, I think, is Hobby Lobby. So these different companies and art supply stores create their own house brands. They're usually another brand that you're familiar with that's taken them on to make their own signature line. You never know. My immediate impression is that it's a sheer color. That can just be the color. It doesn't mean all their paints are sheer. And it appears to be drying matte, but it's just started drying. So, okay, this piece is done. I'm going to set it, and I've got a drying area beside me here that I'm going to lay it on. And there she goes. And I'm going to grab another one. So you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. I'm just covering with color these sheets so that I'm not throwing them away. I'm also not running to the store and buying a lot of paper pads. I'm not going to say that I never buy paper pads, because that's not the truth of it. But I know it's been years since I bought one, and when I do buy them, they're on sale, and I'm pretty particular as far as what paper pads I buy for how I'm going to use them. All right, I'm going to pick some colors that we haven't used yet. Now, here's that Soho paint again. I'm going to see how it does. Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize that these had an inner seal, or I would have pulled them off ahead of time, because they can be tricky. But I'll tell you, sign of quality. When your paints are that way, that's a sign of quality in my mind. Okay, I'm going to start on the left. Since I'm right-handed, I like to start on the left, and then I'm not dragging my arm through the paint. This is kind of I would call this like a yellow ochre. This one, I see that it's sheer, but it is a little more opaque than the blue that I used earlier. And I'm just going to go part way up because I did make this stripe a little bit wider so that it took on the photographs. I'm sorry if my arm is on top of the work. There. Okay. I like that. Rinse the brush. And I don't know if you can see the water, but it's already getting quite muddy. And that's why I like to use a 2-water system, because otherwise you're just jumping up and changing your water over and over. All right. I'm grabbing another color that I haven't used yet. And we'll put this up here. Kind of a peachy color. And you can mix colors, you know, just, you know, if you're saying to yourself, well, I don't have that large of a selection, mix them up. Use your skills and just mix up the colors and create new colors. Why not? Get yourself a color wheel, and that way you can check it out like, oh, what colors are complementary, what colors are opposite each other on the color wheel, secondary colors, primary colors, and you can see what colors mix with what. If that's something you'd like, some color theory, I'd be happy to help you out with that. Just let me know in the comments, and I can do a video and bring out the color wheel, and we can just talk about colors. So this is kind of a turquoisey color. Right now, quite fashionable. I don't buy paints based on fashion too often because my paints often last longer than the fashion itself. So I try to get classic colors, but I can tell you turquoise isn't that easy to mix. At least it isn't for me. If you know a foolproof way to mix a good turquoise, go ahead and let me know in the comments, because it's either too green, it's too blue, and by the time I get the turquoise I want, I've added so much white, green, blue, that I end up with way more paint than I need. So sometimes what I call convenience colors are handier to buy than to try to mix yourself, at least for me. I do not just buy primary colors, that's for sure. Okay, have we used all the colors already? I can't believe we have. Okay, this is a brown. Brown is handy, and I'm using light colors and dark colors. I'm using sheer colors and opaque colors. I'm not limiting myself in any way because all of these will have a purpose. This is obviously a very sheer color, which is fine. I don't mind the text, especially text. If I know a color is more transparent, then I usually head it over text. Never say always, but usually that's what I like to do. That's a pretty color. I like that. And again, that Soho color, which was here, is drying matte. If it's not matte, it's definitely a kind of a satin finish, but it's not a shiny finish, like a patent leather kind of finish, which is really, again, hard to work on top of. Not impossible. And there's ways to get around it, but for this application, I'm happy to have more colors that are in the matte family. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit this with this navy blue. Now, I used the Soho dark blue last time, so this time I'm using the Jane Davenport acrylics. Where I am at, which is Michigan, and it's morning, it's sunny, it's severe clear, and even though it's March, we're expecting a little bit warmer temperatures. So kind of a spring day. I think yesterday was the first day of spring. And so normally in Michigan, oh no, we have snow. Even though the calendar may say spring, even though the weatherman may say spring, we often have snow. April, I mean, there's very common for the little girls on Easter to be wearing heavy coats over their cute little Easter dresses. Very common. Okay, so should we do one more? Yeah, why not? I like not only these colors, but I like this color combination. I think it's rather pretty. All right, one more we'll do. Here we go. So, which side? Okay, I'm going to pick this side because, again, it's less photography, more text. And we'll let the text show through. I'm going to go ahead and use this Soho paint again. And I'll probably go halfway up with it. And again, I'm using the same colors as I used before, but they're going on top of different things. So each one is going to be unique in its own way. That turquoise is really clinging to the brush, but I think we'll be able to make it through this last sheet. I'm still getting turquoise. I think we'll be able to get through this last sheet with the water we have. And here we go. So maybe go about half with this. See how far it goes. I'm not going to waste the paint, that's for sure. Sorry again with my arm getting on top of the work. And I hope I'm staying in frame. But if not, I think you're getting the drift of what I'm doing. I am a newer, well, very new, YouTube creator at this point that I'm making this video. So, of course, I would appreciate if you would like and subscribe. It does help us out more than you may realize as far as getting YouTube to take our video and put it out there. And when you comment, that's engagement, and that also helps the algorithm because it, you know, it's showing interest. So I'd appreciate a like and a comment, and if you like my content, subscribe. And if you hit the bell, then you'll be notified every time I put up a new video. Just lets YouTube know that you're okay with seeing more of my videos, and I hope that you are. So what am I going to do with these papers? Well, we're going to take the Posca markers, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. I'm going to go with this violet again. And again, does this violet go with ochre? You know, well, it depends on your own taste, but some would say no. But for this, it doesn't matter because we're going to be cutting these up or using the punches and making shapes to use in collage. So they don't have to match. Use colors you like. Again, I mostly pick these based on the fact that they're a matte finish. And for this application, that makes it a little bit easier. But again, use what you have. Do not run out and buy acrylic paints. If you've got the little jars of acrylic paint, that's fine. Use those. They work great. And many of them will even say right on them if they're a matte finish or a satin finish or a glossy finish. So go with what you have. I'm glancing at what I already put out there to see what colors I don't have much of. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off with this coral color. Don't you think this is a fun way? I'm having fun. A fun way to use up some of the papers that you weren't sure what to do with. Maybe you have a 12 by 12 pad of paper and there's a couple of sheets in there that didn't work with the type of work that you do. Well, we'll go ahead and grab those, and they work wonderful for this application of creating a new sheet out of what you bought, and then you're not struggling to figure out a way to use it. All right, so all three of these are completely covered. Now, if I was doing this just on my own and not creating a video, and I'm going to have to stand up to set this down. I would be making more than 3. I would be making several more, because I just work in bunches once I get the supplies I need. Okay, so this isn't completely dry, but it's mostly dry. I never recommend using markers on top of any type of paint like this unless you've let it cure for, 24 hours. But these are acrylic with acrylic, so I'm still taking a bit of a chance, but I'm going to head for the stuff that I see that's pretty dry and just give you a taste of what I do on top. I'm going to start with white, because this is dark blue. Posca pens, you just have to press the point down. Don't bang it. Just hold it down for a couple seconds. See, there's the paint. And then I'm just going to make marks. So I'm going to start at the top. Otherwise, again, I'm going to be dragging my arm through it. And I'm just going to make some circles. Very simple. You don't have to be some type of a highly skilled artist or drawer to do this type of thing. And then you can even take these patterns that we're making and go right over to the next color, because you can use one sheet with the other sheet. You can use one color with the other color. And I'll show you what I mean. That's probably making no sense at all. So, there. So you've got some white. I'm going to pick another color to go on top of that navy blue. And I've got this gray. Gonna just get it started. You don't have to, if you bang it, all you're doing is ruining your nibs. And I'm just going to make some X's. And some of these colors are going to show up better on certain colors than others, but it all adds visual texture and interest when you're making your collage work. Just making X's. Nothing complicated at all. So there we go. I'm going to grab one more color. I'm going to grab this red and start it. And I'm going to do some, okay, so we did circles, we did X's. How about just lines? Line, line, line. We can do that. And again, you can see how this will lend itself more to one color than another, but I promise you, it all adds visual texture. All adds interest. You can end up using these as background papers. You can use them as focal points. You can use them in your art journal. You can use them on canvas. You can use them, do I sound like Ronco? It slices, it dices. You can make salad. You can make lasagna. Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far. But they are helpful. They really are. How about some stars? And instead of going in kind of geometric, I'm just going to go more random and put some stars. It's almost like I'm making bits of fabric that, you know, you could put in a crazy quilt. I suppose crazy is the operative word here. But just, again, creating visual interest, creating texture. People will ask you, they've asked me, where did you get that paper? Well, I made it. And it is unique, and each piece is unique. It's like snowflakes. Everything is unique. I'm going to go ahead and finish this area with the stars, just so that you can get a bit of a taste of what I'm doing. Now, you might be saying, I don't have any Posca markers. You can use alcohol markers, like Sharpies. You can use Bic. The company Bic has different types of alcohol markers. The only thing is, I would recommend that you let it cure overnight, because if you get acrylic on top of the nibs of alcohol markers, you can make the markers not want to work anymore. But if you don't have Posca, you can make marks with the acrylic paint that you have. So as you can see, this is awfully wet. I'm going to swap it out. You can go ahead with your acrylic paints. I've got a round brush and I've got a square brush. And I'm going to, again, pick a color. And I'm going to put it here. This is wax paper. And you can make marks with your acrylic paints and a brush. So, and this is not a particularly expensive brush. It's called Contemporary Crafts, and they call it a 245B round. Oh, I'm sorry. That must be like a manufacturer number. It's a number 2 round. So, I'm going to go ahead into this peachy color. As I'm twirling this brush in my hand, the brush has a bend. Wouldn't call it a particularly expensive or high quality brush, but it's going to do the purpose. I'm just going to make dots like this. So it's just kind of the shape of my brush. And I'm just going to create, and I can tell you, I don't know how you would make this kind of a mark with a Posca brush. I use both. I use the Posca markers, but I also put marks on with brushes. I don't do one over the other. I just want to give you some variety. And you can see that I'm not fighting. Of course, the paint is dry, but I'm not fighting with any type of resistance because of the matte finish. This even goes faster, in my opinion, than using the Posca. Okay, so rinsing it out, and I'm not even going to pick another color, but I'm just, why did I wash my brush then? I don't know. But I'm going to just make some circles, and they're not perfect circles. We're just making marks. I am keeping the marks fairly small, but you don't have to. It just depends on what your applications are going to be. And I'm just using up the paint. I'm going right over those red lines that are on the brown color. You can see I'm running out of paint, going right over the stars and there. Okay, so that paint is fairly used up. I'm getting my other brush out of the water. And I'm going to put it over here because I don't know that I'm going to be using it anymore. So it doesn't have to take up such valuable real estate. All right, we're going to get one more color. Something that goes on top of that blue. I'm going to try this coral color and make some more marks. And I think I'll make some squares. Some will be squares, some will be rectangles. Like I said, it reminds me, not that I've ever done it, but kind of creating a fabric. Now, this brush is creating some texture, some brush marks, and I'm totally fine with that. It doesn't have to be all smooth, but adding a little tactile texture as well as visual texture is a positive thing when you're doing different types of collage work. Sometimes when people talk about collages, they think you're talking about, you know, like a 24 by 36 inch canvas. Not necessarily. You can do beautiful collage work if you're a card maker. You can do beautiful collage work in your art journals. You can do beautiful collage work the size of a postage stamp. And I have a video on how to make faux postage. And believe it or not, I'm using different types of collage to create those. So really, the limit is only your own imagination. And if you're not sure if something's going to work, try it. You know, so what if a magazine page ends up in the trash because you just didn't like it. And before you throw it away, let it sit overnight and give it another look tomorrow, because you'll be surprised at how different things look. For one thing, when they dry, they always look a little bit different. I wouldn't say they're shockingly different, but they're always looking a little bit different. And you've got a different mindset. Right now, my eyes are so full of these colors and these shapes that I'm doing. And I have a different perspective in the morning, or if I've gone out for a walk, or if I've done my grocery shopping and I come back. Many times things that I think, not really what I wanted, I end up liking it tomorrow, or I end up liking it after I change gears and read a book or something, eat a meal. Don't give up on your art that fast. All right, so this one's going down on the drying. And I have some of these sheets that I'm going to show you. Now, this is wet, so I'm going to just gently fold it in half and get it out of our way. And I'm going to grab some of those to show you some others I've made. They're right here. I'm not far. So here are some more that I've made. And some of them I made on smaller scraps because I just thought this would be a nice border in a collage. Here's another one. And this one I used alcohol markers on. So you don't have to have the Posca markers or acrylic markers. This is with a paintbrush. And hear that sticking? That's the difference between a gloss and a matte finish. All of this was done with paintbrush, and then I also added some rubber stamping on top. So, you know, again, the sky's the limit in creating your own papers. So what do I do with these papers? Well, okay, here's a faux postage. I don't know if you can see that, but this is with a photograph. It's not with one of these, but I did make faux postage with them. And like I said, I do have a video on how I make that. But one of the things I like to do is use punches. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a punch, and I'll show you how I do that. And then what I'm making, and this is a 2-inch round. I try to be mindful and use the paper up in a way that makes sense to get as many punches as I can. I often turn the punch upside down so I can see that, okay, so it won't go in that way. There we go. So that I'm getting as many punches as possible out of this. I'm going to go ahead and open this up so that I can get my punches out. But see, isn't that pretty? Yeah, it is pretty. I'll answer for you. I think it's gorgeous. So here we're going to get some of the browns, some of the yellow. Still trying, though, to get as much as I can. Okay, so I'm not going to show you each one, or that's going to drive you nuts, or it's going to drive me more nuts. So, because I already am a bit nuts. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to give you an idea. I'm going to go ahead and go here. This one I use some metallic acrylic paints. I am going to show you this one because see how it picked up from several sections all in one piece. So you punch and you punch. I've got other kinds of punches, so I'll show you that. Now this punch is a 3.5-inch punch. Now maybe you have like a scissor or one of those types of things that you can use die cuts, and you know that will work. You can die cut this, but again, I'm trying to show you with what you might have on hand. Not everyone has that machine, but you know, punches they're not as in fashion as they used to be, and so you can find them in thrift stores. But look at that beauty. You can find punches in thrift stores, and you know, they work fine. Test them out while you're there. Have some paper. Now here is a 2-inch oval. So again, I'm going to open it up so I can see as I'm putting the paper in that I'm not getting a partial punch. Although if you do, that can be fine. There's an oval, and I'll do another oval. And we'll do one more oval. How about if we go in right here? Okay, so what else do I do with these types of things? I'll show you. The different patterns and things that I have in these papers. Things that we didn't necessarily do. Like here I made some squares. Here I used, I'll show you. This is from a potato bag. And I just set it on and I just put the paint through it. So it created this texture. Here is, I don't know if you can see, there's gold on top of brown. So, you know, again, different designs, trying to vary it up. There's that stickiness again. Here I did some tiny little dots, and I made those types of lines with you. Here I just made a row of stripes. This one I left plain. So no right, no wrong, just have fun, do what's easy. But I wanted to show you this one because I drew a circle, I drew some hearts on here. And what I do with those is I just fussy cut them. And sometimes I leave a border so that I'm getting both colors. Sometimes you can see text through them. This one you don't, but you can, and it can be really pretty. But I just go ahead and fussy cut around these shapes. And I'm going to leave a border. I can always cut a border off if I end up using this in a collage and I wish it didn't have that border. But if I cut it off from the start, well, then the decision's made. But see, then I can use that in my collage work. And you can do leaves, you can do flowers, and I'm going to show you some of that as well. So again, different ideas. I made some flowers. Oh, here, the yellow was such a pretty yellow, and it was sheer. So I just went ahead and let the text speak for itself. And that's another way that you can use these collage papers. So I am going to throw these little scraps away. Keep this, and I'll be punching and cutting. Oh, I wanted to show you another thing. Maybe if you don't have like a round punch or oval punch, but maybe you have a corner. A lot of people just buy a corner punch. Well, what you can do is cut out a square shape, and then you can grab, and this is a corner punch. Grab your corner punch, and this is a big corner punch. So it's going to really give us a unique shape. To try to, it's gotten so small that I've got to figure out kind of where the punch should go to keep with the pattern. There we go. So see, there's another shape altogether, and that's just by using a corner punch. So if you just have a corner punch, you can still make interesting shapes, and honestly, you can make them the size that suits you. So there's another way to create shapes. But I have a little container right here that I'm going to show you. And with this, these are more ways that I've gotten collage sheets ready. So I just keep them in this little margarine tin. And here I've made some leaf shapes that I can use in collage. Now here are more of the round shapes that you just saw me punch out. And look, I've made stacks of these. One of the things you can do with these is just cut them in half and use half and use it on an edge. And I'll show you different ways to use these as we make more collages. Here you can see it got on 3 different colors, the green, the pink, and there's brown, there's orange, so, and there's text. So, you know, a lot of interest in some of these. And, you know, if you're not going to use it in one project, you can use it in another. Here's another couple of leaf shapes that I just painted and cut out. Just very simple, basic shapes. Here, I drew a flower. And this is with alcohol markers on top of the same type of work that we're doing. But you can put this in your collage and you can, you know, tuck in a leaf and you can create a little interesting corner, or you could make a whole group of these and create a wreath or whatever you want. It is only limited by your imagination. So I did make several leaves. I made other hearts, some big. You can see though, I make some really small hearts because I want it to be able to use it in different corners and different little spots in my collage work. So I hope this has given you some inspiration. I hope that this is a project that you'll consider doing. Making yourself some collage out of leftovers and repurpose, reuse, and then make collage sheets. If you're interested in a video on how I made these, please put it in the comments, and then I'll know that I should go ahead and show you exactly how I use these collage sheets. I hope you enjoyed this. If it's been inspirational, if it's been helpful, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you so much.